They said some men disappear because they have to. Cole Mercer did it because he wanted to. The bookstore was almost empty, just the hum of a ceiling fan and the faint scent of coffee from the counter. Cole Mercer stepped inside for the same reason he did most things these days, out of habit, not desire. Rain still clung to his jacket, darkening the worn leather. He didn't belong here. Too tall, too still, a shadow in a place built for warmth. He only wanted quiet. Somewhere the noise of the world couldn't reach him. He moved between shelves without looking, fingers brushing the spines until one slipped free, a random book, something to justify sitting down. The title didn't matter. Nothing did. He dropped into a chair at the small reading table near the back, opened it halfway, and stared at the page without seeing a word. That one's a favorite of mine. The voice was soft, curious, not afraid. He looked up. She stood a few feet away, a book tucked under one arm, her other hand resting lightly against the back of the chair opposite him. Honey brown hair, eyes the color of forest moss. There was something disarming about her, like she'd stepped out of a different world. "Sorry," he said. "The book." She smiled, the kind that felt unpracticed but real. Hope after chaos. You picked it like someone who didn't mean to. He glanced down at the title, faintly surprised. "Maybe I didn't." "You should keep it," she said. "The ending's better than you'd think." He expected her to leave. Most people did, after one look at the scar along his cheek. But she pulled the chair out and sat down across from him, her movements quiet, natural, as if she'd done it 1,000 times. "Do you read often?" she asked. "Not really." "That's a shame. It's a good way to disappear without dying." He couldn't help the small huff of laughter that escaped, rusty, unfamiliar. For a few minutes, they just talked about nothing and everything. The book, the smell of rain, how silence could be comforting when shared. And the strangest thing happened. The air felt lighter. He forgot to guard his tone, to measure his breathing, to hide behind that stillness he wore like armor. When she finally stood, she gave him one last look. "Well, stranger," she said softly, "I hope you like the ending." Then she was gone, a soft rustle of movement, the doorbell chiming as she stepped into the rain. Cole stared after her for a long time, until the silence folded in again. He looked down at the book still open on the table, his thumb pressed against the first page. Hope After Chaos. He didn't know then why the title made his chest ache. The rain hadn't stopped by the time Cole left the bookstore. He told himself he was only buying the book because it felt rude to walk out empty-handed. But that was a lie even he didn't bother to believe. The woman's voice, soft, sure, unafraid, still echoed in his head. He could still see the faint smudge of rain on her sleeve when she leaned across the table, the tiny line of concentration between her brows when she spoke about stories and endings. He turned the book over in his hands. Hope After Chaos. The cover was worn, a second-hand copy with a crease down the spine. He traced it absently, the way someone might trace a scar. His apartment was dark when he got home. One room, half-furnished, the kind of place you never meant to stay. He dropped his jacket over the chair, set the book on the counter, and stared at it for a long time. He didn't open it that night. He just left it there, beside the pistol he always cleaned before bed, the only two things in the room that meant anything. When the silence grew too heavy, he caught himself wondering what she was doing, whether she'd gone home to someone waiting for her. He laughed at the thought, a rough, disbelieving sound. He didn't even know her name. Across town, in a house too big to feel alive, Willow Scott Harris sat at a long dining table set for two. The food had gone cold. The candles burned low. Jack was late again. She didn't wait anymore. Not really. She just sat there out of habit, because it felt better than eating alone. Her father used to say that a shared meal could fix anything. He'd been wrong about that, wrong about a lot of things. She lifted her glass, the wine untouched, tracing the rim with her finger. The silence in the room pressed against her, thick and heavy, the kind that made you want to whisper, even when there was no one to hear. Her mind drifted back to the bookstore, the scent of old pages, the hush of the aisles, the soft hum of rain outside, and him, the stranger with the gray eyes and quiet presence. He hadn't said much, but when he did, It wasn't cruel or clipped like Jack's words always were. He didn't correct her, didn't sigh when she spoke. He listened, really listened, as if what she said mattered, as if she mattered. It had been such a small thing, a short conversation about a book she loved since she was a girl. But somehow it had left her lighter. Seen, she caught herself smiling as she walked home, a strange, fleeting warmth she hadn't felt in years. Now, in this echoing house, she missed the sound of his voice, the quiet steadiness of it, the way his gaze held no judgment, only understanding. She shook her head, forcing a laugh. What a ridiculous thought, missing a man whose name she didn't even know. Still, as the candle sputtered out, she realized she was thinking less about Jack's absence and more about the stranger's eyes, storm gray and unflinching, like he'd seen the worst of the world and somehow understood hers. The front door opened, the sound sharp against the stillness. Jack Harris Jr. stepped inside, smelling of whiskey and rain. His tie was loosened, his smile the kind that never reached his eyes. "You're still up," he said, like it was an accusation. "You said you'd be home by 8. I got caught up." He poured himself a drink before she could answer. "You don't have to wait up for me, Willow. It's not expected." She looked at him, at the tailored suit, the smooth charm, the emptiness underneath. There had been a time when she'd tried to love him, to believe her father hadn't been wrong about the man he called son in all but blood. But Jack only ever loved things he could own. "You've been spending a lot of time in town lately," he said without turning around. "Bookstores, coffee shops. You try and find a hobby or a friend." Her stomach tightened. He always said things like that, words that weren't quite cruel, but meant to remind her the cage she lived in. "Just getting out of the house," she murmured. "Good. Keep it that way." He glanced over his shoulder, his smile knife-thin. "You look prettier when you don't talk too much." He left her standing there, the sound of his glass clinking down the hall. Willow sat back down at the table, staring at the empty chair across from her. For a long time, she didn't move. Then she reached for her book, the same title he'd brushed off earlier that day, Hope After Chaos, and opened it again, trying to lose herself in a world where endings meant something. The next time Cole walked into the bookstore, the rain had stopped, but the world still felt gray. He'd just finished a job, a clean one, quick, forgettable, the kind that used to leave him satisfied in a cold, mechanical way. This time it didn't. The silence afterward pressed heavier than usual. He told himself he came back because he needed a place to think. But the truth sat somewhere deeper. Something about the smell of old paper, the echo of her voice, the memory of that green-eyed woman who talked about endings as if they were beginnings. He stepped through the doorway, scanning the rows of shelves before he could stop himself. Nothing. No honey-brown hair. No soft voice drifting from the aisles. He went to the same table. The chair across from him was empty. He sat anyway. Opened Hope After Chaos again, this time actually reading a line or two, though the words blurred into thought. He'd forgotten how long it had been since someone made him want to stay. After a while, he closed the book and leaned back. The ache was unfamiliar, not pain, exactly. Just the absence of something he'd only had for a moment. He left a few minutes later, the bell above the door chiming behind him like a goodbye that hadn't been said. Across town, the night smelled of smoke and expensive scotch. Jack sat in a dim corner booth, tie loosened, cufflinks off, complaining to the only man who still listened. Patrick Ward, an old friend from university who'd made his fortune on secrets and favors. "She's useless," Jack muttered, swirling the amber in his glass. "Won't sell the estate. Won't sign over a damn thing." Patrick chuckled, a sound without warmth. "You still have a hell of a lot, Jack." "Don't start." Jack's jaw tightened. "You know what I mean. She's sitting on more money than she'll ever need, and she's wasting it on charities and book clubs. I can't touch a cent without her signature." Patrick leaned back, studying him. "What did you expect, Jack? She's her father's daughter. He might have died, but he made sure she holds a leash." Jack slammed his glass down. "He trusted me to take care of her, not be her damn puppet." Patrick's smile turned thin. "If you really want to control, there are ways." Jack glanced up, suspicion and curiosity mingling in his expression. What do you mean? Patrick sipped his drink, watching him over the rim. Let's just say I know a man who fixes problems. Permanent ones. Ex-military. Keeps to himself. Efficient. Pricey, but worth every cent. Jack's laugh was low, uncertain. You're joking. I'm not. Patrick set his glass down gently. You wouldn't have to do a thing. One conversation. A quick payment, and your problems disappear. No witnesses, no trail. For a long moment, Jack said nothing. The noise of the bar filled the space. The clink of glass, a burst of laughter from another table. Then, slowly, he leaned forward. Tell me more about this man. Patrick's smile didn't reach his eyes. His name's Mercer. Cole Mercer. The message came like they all did. A single text, no name, no greeting, just a time and a place. Cole didn't hesitate. He never did. He grabbed his jacket and left the apartment without looking back. The meetup spot was a small garage off the industrial strip. A man he didn't know waited by a black sedan, face half hidden by the hood of his coat. They didn't exchange names. They never did. A plain manila folder changed hands. They talked about the price. Half now, half on completion. Cole nodded, pocketed the envelope of cash, and slipped the folder under his arm. No questions. No small talk. Back in his apartment, he laid the file on the table beside Hope after chaos. His hands moved with the same mechanical precision as always. Open, scan, assess, memorize. Name, Willow Scott Harris. Suburban estate, high security but predictable patterns. He read it like any other job, information, not people, until he saw the photograph. It slipped from the folder and landed face up on the table. For a moment, the world just stopped. Her hair, those green eyes, the faint line between her brows, the same expression she'd had when she spoke about her favorite book. His breath caught, sharp and shallow. He reached for the photo, but his hand hesitated an inch above it. No, it can't be. He stared, the silence pressing in around him. The woman from the bookstore, the one who'd looked at him like he wasn't broken. He sat back hard in the chair, rubbing a hand over his face. The edges of his composure were fraying, something he hadn't felt in years. He traced the outline of her smile with his thumb. The file called her a target, but all he could see was the way she leaned across the table and said, "You should keep it. The ending's better than you'd think." He looked down at the book beside the folder, Hope After Chaos, and for the first time in his life, Cole Mercer didn't know what to do next. Jack's voice was low when he met Patrick at the club. He lifted his scotch as if the glass itself were the point. "I don't want a messy headline," Jack said. "Get a message to Mercer. He must kill her. I want proof, but he must make her body disappear. Get rid of her where no one can find her." He leaned forward, eager. "I don't want anyone asking questions I can't answer. If she's gone missing, people will pity me. No one will suspect me if I'm the grieving husband. I'll get temporary power over everything," he went on, voice cold, "until they find her alive, which they never will. If they find her body later, accidents happen." Patrick nodded, expression unreadable. "I will make it happen." Jack laughed, short and precise. "I want her out of sight. I want control. I want to write the story. People will pity me. They'll sign the forms. The money shifts while everyone's busy feeling sorry." His fingers closed around the envelope. His eyes were sharp with the math of inheritance. "Make sure there's something convincing," he added. Patrick's voice was smooth. "Leave it to me. He'll make it look like a disappearance. Whatever suits the narrative you want painted. You'll get the scene. He'll get what he's paid." 2 nights later, Cole met Patrick in a neutral parking lot. The man handed over a plain manila folder and an envelope of cash. Cole listened like a man taking in coordinates. He heard Jack's plan in code, simple sentences, heard the hunger in them. He saw the true scale of what Jack intended. Not a single violent moment, but a slow, legal theft dressed as sorrow. He pocketed the envelope without comment, the folder under his arm. He had a plan. He had a lie to place into motion. He had a cabin that could hold a truth no one expected. What he did not have was certainty that he could keep the two things separate. The narrative Jack wanted out in the light, and the green-eyed woman who'd looked at him in the bookstore as if he were human, tucked away somewhere off the map. He'd chosen a course. Now he would carry it out.